Oh, the dream team that is here are Undisputed, Skip Bayless, Michael Irvin, Keyshawn Johnson, Richard Sherman. Wow, all four guys are debating in the same room. What a room that is. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about the new format of Undisputed being displayed yesterday with Shannon Sharpe leaving Undisputed. We all knew that Undisputed was going to look different, but they reinvented the definition of what different looks like on Undisputed. For the first time in forever, Skip Bayless was a man of a few words on his own show as Undisputed looked unrecognizable. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Will Undisputed be successful in this new format? And honestly, I have a lot of hope for Undisputed. After what I saw yesterday from the performance of Richard Sherman, Keyshawn Johnson, Michael Irvin, and Skip Bayless, as well as Lil Wayne, I was thinking, man, this cast could certainly work for sure. Now, granted, is it going to be the same as when it was with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe? Absolutely not. But you know what? Change on Undisputed is certainly not the worst thing to have in the world because of the fact that Undisputed was only garnering 120,000 viewers per day on Undisputed with Shannon Sharpe in recent memory. So it's not exactly like Undisputed was killing it with the ratings. The show needed change. The show got stale over time, and it quite frankly got repetitive. Now, I'll say this about the repetitiveness of Undisputed because they like to repeat a lot of the same topics where they talk about Cowboys, LeBron, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and then they would repeat the same four topics all over again. And then when they would run out of those four topics, they would go ahead and talk about, oh, Baker Mayfield, he's the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. But honestly, in all seriousness, no, with Undisputed, yeah, they decide that they're not going to go ahead and change the topics. They're just going to go ahead and change the format of the show. And honestly, I like it. Now, granted, do I think that they can run this current format as is? No, they're going to have to tinker and make some adjustments because obviously not all four of them can be in the room at the same time because they got too many loudmouth cooks in the room. Think about this like a basketball team almost. It's kind of like when you form up a big three or a big four on an NBA team and you got a guy that's the fourth option on the team, even though he's been used to being a really good number one option for his team for years, and then he has to play a brand new role. That's what's going to be like watching Skip Bayless, Richard Sherman, Keyshawn Johnson, and Michael Irvin working together. Those guys are really good at being loudmouths, but the thing with them is some of them have to realize, hey, not every minute is worth me speaking my words. Sometimes I just got to sit back in the background and be quiet and just let the show flow without having guys shout all over each other while getting nothing done productively. The opening topic for Undisputed yesterday was over 30 minutes long. It was about Trey Lance, and they were talking about how Trey Lance to the Dallas Cowboys, it was going to be a very impactful trade for the Dallas Cowboys, and how Trey Lance, he might even be good enough to overtake Dak Prescott as the starter in Dallas eventually. But the thing with it was, it really shouldn't have taken 30 minutes to debate that point. That should have been a 10, 15, 20-minute topic at most, but those dogs drew it out to over 30 minutes long. You know why? Because those dudes were constantly interrupting each other over and over again. You got Michael Irvin being a Cowboys homer, and then you had Keyshawn Johnson yelling all the time, just like he did on the KJM show and on First Take, where he was always shouting just to yell. And then you got Richard Sherman, who was talking trash about the Dallas Cowboys, and then they started talking about themselves, and they started trash talking about their own careers. You had Richard Sherman trash talking about how he was the best corner in all of football. Then you had Michael Irvin talking like he was the second coming of Jerry Rice. And then you had Keyshawn Johnson trying to show himself off as the superstar media analyst guy, when in reality, he's just really good at what he does. And then Skip Bayless, the guy that created Undisputed, essentially got drowned out. Whenever Skip Bayless tried to talk, those three guys talked over Skip Bayless, and it became clear that Skip Bayless had to be the de facto moderator on Undisputed. You would have thought Skip Bayless was Molly Karam yesterday because of the fact that Skip Bayless really didn't get to speak all that much. He became more of a moderator, more so than an actual sports host guy. Skip Bayless had to basically control the flow and say, hey guys, chill out. You guys need to know your places and know where to pick them. But those guys weren't really listening, and I don't blame them because these are four alpha guys all in the same room at the same time. You got Skip Bayless, who has been a long-time sports debater. He's the godfather of sports debate shows. And then you've got Richard Sherman, one of the greatest trash talkers ever. He was one of the best cornerbacks in all of football. He's a top 5 cornerback of all time, potentially speaking. And then you got Keyshawn Johnson, an amazing trash talker, Super Bowl champion while he's at it, former number 1 overall pick. He was really good back in the day, back in the 90s and the 2000s as a player, and he's been pretty good as an analyst. I'm not going to say he's been a rock star as an analyst, but he's been pretty good in that regard. And then of course there's Michael Irvin. Anytime Michael Irvin is in the room, it is always going to be popcorn getting ready because Michael Irvin is a superstar in the media. He is an awesome player, but an even better sports talker. Whenever those guys are in the room, they always have to believe that they are the alphas. And the thing with that is you can't have 4 alphas in the room at the same time. It's already hard enough having 2 alphas in the same room at the same time, but to have 4 of them at the same time, that's just nearly impossible to work with. One of those guys is going to have to take a back seat, and I understand that Undisputed is not going to do this current format every day, and that might be just a one-time thing, but the reality of the situation is this: if those guys are going to be constantly interrupting each other, then they're not going to get anything done, because it felt like they were talking more about themselves more so than they were talking about the actual topic. You had Richard Sherman jawing at it with Michael Irvin, talking about, I could knock that ball out of you. Then you have Michael Irvin saying, I could catch everything. And then Keyshawn Johnson, who is just smiling like this when those guys were going at it with each other. You could tell that Keyshawn Johnson was less prepared than the other 2 guys between Richard Sherman and Michael Irvin. And I don't blame Keyshawn Johnson for being less prepared than those other 2 guys because of the fact that Keyshawn Johnson just joined Undisputed basically a week before the show started. He didn't even officially join Undisputed till Saturday or Sunday, so he basically had very short notice. He had no time to build chemistry with his co-workers whatsoever. The reason why he joined so late was because there was an issue with the buyout at ESPN and everything like that, so he didn't really get reps in practice with Michael Irvin, Richard Sherman, and Skip Bayless. You could tell that those guys were less prepared. You could tell Richard Sherman was the most prepared out of the group though, because Richard Sherman got to join Undisputed earlier than anybody else did. And then of course Michael Irvin, he was sidelined for several months. He really didn't get back into sports media until yesterday, and they really didn't announce his return till about a week before Undisputed returned back to the air. But the thing with Michael Irvin is he's always a superstar whenever he goes. Whenever Michael Irvin speaks, he always commands the full room to go ahead and listen to him, and he is an absolute dog when it comes to create entertainment within the sports industry. Michael Irvin is just built different. Although Keyshawn Johnson is pretty good at what he does, he is certainly not on the level of a Michael Irvin or a Richard Sherman. That's because those guys are top level elites at what they do. But I will say this about the new format Undisputed: if this is going to be the case, this show is going to blow First Take out of the waters. Me personally, I prefer watching Undisputed over First Take already, but if this is going to be the new format moving forward, I'm going to say, you know what, First Take, they're going to go down the gutter, because you can have Shannon Sharpe all you want, and although Shannon Sharpe is a big name on the market, he's not necessarily this ratings draw that's going to change life. And honestly, who wants to watch a show of 2 hours of 2 men hating on the Dallas Cowboys? You know why I say a lot of people wouldn't care? Because I could do the same thing at home. I could go ahead and talk trash to America's team. That wouldn't be necessarily fun to listen to. Those would be 2 loudmouths going at it. At least when you got 4 loudmouths going at it, it's actually funny, and they can actually provide different points. There's actually diversity in opinion, and that's the problem that I have with ESPN, right? Because they always talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I get it, minorities been getting stifled, but that's not necessarily the most important thing when it comes to job workforce. When it comes to job workforce, there needs to be a diversity in opinion. That's what made the country of the United States so great, and that's what it needs to be moving forward too. When you look at diversity of opinion, it actually makes the show a lot better. It's like, wow, I'm getting to hear this guy's opinion, and then I get to hear another dude's opinion, and it's like they have different ideas being meshed together in one. But that's what First Take is missing. They don't have that anymore. And if they have Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe in the same room at the same time, it's just going to be 2 guys repeating the same opinions over and over again. And they're really more similar than what you would necessarily want in a debate show, because in a debate show, you want 2, 3, or 4 different guys having different opinions at the same time that are authentic, and you can say, wow, you actually learned a lot about it. But Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith don't have that chemistry within them. I don't think they can build that chemistry in them, because they are more similar than what you would want in a debate show, because they both hate the Dallas Cowboys, which means that when they're going to go ahead and talk about the Dallas Cowboys, it's not going to really be a debate. How are they going to debate and scream against each other other than hate on the Dallas Cowboys? It's just going to be 2 guys hating on the same team at the same time. That wouldn't make for good television. The way that Undisputed is doing it, I could see this format working for sure. Now, I think that they just got to take 1 of the 4 out of the rotation at a time, so that way they can have a 3-person debate show. That way everybody gets their points in there, because when it's just 4 people in there, it's harder for everybody else to get their points in there, and then you have to force Skip Bayless to be a moderator. Skip Bayless doesn't want to do that for his own show, and that's not his style. Skip Bayless is supposed to be the star of the show, and he's supposed to always get his points in. But we'll see. I'm excited for this new format of Undisputed. I think it's going to work out really well. Let's see if ratings go ahead and increase compared to the time with Shannon Sharpe. I say that they have a lot of work to do though in terms of improving those ratings, because even a little bit of improvement still wouldn't cut it for the money that Skip Bayless is currently making right now. Still though, I'm excited for the future of Undisputed. They did a good job revamping up the format that they are doing. I thought it was funny. I thought it was interesting. Let's see what happens on Undisputed moving forward. So that is why Undisputed will actually end up being successful in this new format. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I'm going to shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. make sure to follow me on Instagram at Dustin Tran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter at Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.